Hey guys, and welcome back to Scotty's Garage. Now it's been a while since I've been in the shed. There's been a lot of shows on, Summernats, Motivation, Candos, Dubbo, all the burnout shows, and there's still a fair few to go. But in my travels I've picked up this nice little V8. Well, it's not so little. It's a Chrysler big block. Now it's only a 361 cuber, so the smaller of the big block series, but it's 40 thou over, which takes it to 367 cubes or thereabouts. It's a fresh rebuild, but it's been sitting on someone's shelf for quite a while, right? I reckon this rebuilt probably 10 years ago or more, and it's just been sitting there wrapped in plastic, ready to go. Now it's got nice fresh hone marks in the bore, nice 40 thou over pistons. You know, it needs a bit of a clean out, so I'll give it a clean out and I'll go through it and make sure everything's good. Now the plan is to take this motor and stick it in this ute. Alright, this is a 68 Valiant ute, it's a VE Valiant ute, nothing to do with a Commodore, and that was my dad's ute. Alright, now as I let you know at the end of the 1300 series, Dad passed away last year, and what he left me was this old girl. Now this was his pride and joy. He loved cruising this thing, you know, taking it off to Chrysler shows and that sort of thing. It's only got a slant 6 in it, but that's alright, he enjoyed it. But we talked a few times about, you know, converting it to disc brakes and converting it to V8 and all these sort of things. Never got around to it, but I figure I've got this motor, I've got the car, let's put them together and make something that Dad would have been proud of. Now, and I think he would have loved having a V8 in this ute and just being able to cruise off whenever he wanted. And that's kind of the plan. It's not to make 1,000,000 horsepower, it's not to make some street and strip, you know, monster. I've got another ute sitting behind the camera for that one. But, you know, just let's get into it and make something that would have been a really nice cruiser, and is a nice cruiser. And yeah, just have something I can jump in and drive at the drop of the hat. So anyway, that's the plan. Not massive horsepower, but yeah, it should be interesting anyway. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is actually pull the motor down. Now it sounds crazy, I mean it's a fresh motor and everything, how bad could it be, you know, but you know, after 10 years in storage, even with the plastic on it, there's some crap down in here that I want to clean out, and you know, I want to check a few things, but most of all I've got to pull the crank out. Now the problem there is this is a truck motor, and the crank sticks, you know, that far out the back of the block. Unfortunately can't use it with the car setup. Now I've managed to pick up another motor for 400 bucks, a complete motor, but she's an old shitter, but it has a car crank in it. So I'm going to put the car crank in the this motor, and we should end up with a working setup. Unfortunately it means we're going to pull it all apart. So anyway, alright, we'll spin her over. I've got it fairly balanced, so it's not too hard to turn. I mean, yes, it is a big lump of cast iron though, so turn her over, we'll get into the guts of it. As you can see, the Chrysler big block's a pretty solid bit of gear. We've got a forged crank, got heavy duty rods in there, you know, double row timing chain up the front. And look at the deep skirts on this block, alright, and these big thick rails. I mean, everything about these engines screams heavy duty, you know, there's a lot of beef in here, and you know, it should handle just about anything I throw at it, even though the whole aim of this engine is actually to be fairly mild. Okay, so I've loosened the nuts off. What I'll do is I'll just give it a tap with the soft hammer, which will split the rods apart. Then we can turn the nuts off and slide the piston out. Okay, so as you've just seen, I've just knocked the caps away from the rods. Now, we've got the rod bolts. Now we want to push the piston through. We'll use these, just pieces of fuel hose, put over the end of the rod bolts so we don't mar the crank when we pull it out. Yes, it's not the crank that I actually want to keep, but there's no point stuffing up a perfectly good crank either. Alright, let's just push that out. And there we are. Brand new rod and piston combo. Alright, now we've got another 8 to do. Okay, so I've just dropped the 6-bolt crank in there and given it a bit of an oil up, bit of a clean as well. So that is ready to bolt in. Then we'll put some pistons back in. Hey guys, so this is where we're up to at the moment. We've got the crank in, so the 6-bolt crank, so that'll work with our torque flight when we get that. Got the pistons, everything back in, checked it all in, everything's nicely oiled now. Just giving it a bit of wipe over with some paper towel. Paper towel's pretty good for assembling engines because it's oil soluble, so it won't hurt the bearings and anything when you start pumping oil through it. But it will get caught up in the filter, which would be a good thing down the track. So better than using cloth. Cloth, you get a piece of cloth in there and yeah, it can tear up some bearings pretty quickly. So I've had a good look through the engine. Engine's all good now. It was pretty dry before too, so you know, if I'd fired it up as is, it probably would have hurt something. You know, some of the bearings were marked 1989, so gives you an idea of when this engine was built last. But anyway, like I said, we've got it all back together. I've added a couple extra bits, like a new sump from Rocket. What else have we got? We've got a nice Power Bond SFI balancer to go on the front. We'll put that on shortly. Brand new oil pump. Brand new sump and pickup, as I said. The pickup needed a bit of you know, tune up to get in there properly because it was hitting against the bottom of the sump. But fixed that easily just with a blowtorch, bit of heat, bend her up into the right place. All good. Alright, so next trick is to find myself some heads that are suitable. Now I've got some 906s, so for those that don't speak Chrysler, 906s are performance heads, open chamber performance heads made from 68 to 70. They came out on all the muscle cars. Good flowing things, except, you know, I've got dish pistons here, so put 906s on this thing and it's going to end up with, you know, fairly low comp. I'll have to get the calculator out and have a look and see where we're at. If it's looking like it'll be still reasonable, you know, I'll just throw the 906s on there. Otherwise I'll try and have a dig around and see if I can find some closed chamber heads and go that way. Anyway, we're getting pretty close now, so like I said, I'll find some heads throw them on, and then we'll see how we go from there.